Let's talk about the Korean War and its role in the Cold War.
Before the end of World War II, Japan had previously occupied all of Korea, and there was no officially recognized boundary between the two sides.
After World War II, Korea had split into two different states, North Korea and South Korea. The Soviets occupied the North, and the US occupied the South. The Soviets, while in North Korea, established a communist government there.
The US was worried by this, as they wanted Korea to follow the same democratic capitalistic government we have.
America believed in the domino theory, where one communistic nation in power would lead to the fall of many more. They were willing to join this fight because the idea of mass communistic spread was terrifying. Eventually, this would lead to the beginning of the Korean War. But where did this whole war part begin?
Well, North Korea decided they wanted to invade the South. Stalin, the leader of the Soviets, refused at first, but North Korea begged and showed off their army. Stalin then accepted, and an invasion began.
North Korea expected a quick surrender, but was caught off guard when they didn't immediately accept defeat. North Korea was still a very scary and powerful threat, so South Korea called out for backup. This is when the US comes in.
For the 3 years they were at war, North Korea and South Korea did not gain much land or lose much.
The US was adamant about protecting South Korea from North Korea's communistic rule, and it was clear that the Soviets would never consider giving up even for a second. North Korea was being pushed far past the 38th parallel. China and the Soviets were concerned by this because the US was getting way too close to them. Because of this, we had to stop unless we wanted things to escalate real quick. Eventually, North and South Korea reluctantly decided on an armistice where they stayed divided.
Despite the conflict being cut off there, the war resulted in the death of millions. South Korea was ultimately pushed back to their side of the 38th parallel, where they have not moved beyond since.
Nobody wins, but at least both sides can just move on, supposedly.
North Korea's government today is seen as a socialist with a totalitarian dictatorship.
South Korea is a democratic republic, the opposite of North Korea. From economic systems to music, the two are like opposite worlds in almost every way.
And while the grudge is still there, they must leave each other alone.
This war was very impactful to the Cold War because it was the first time the US and USSR fought in a proxy war in another country.